Now out in cinemas is the latest entry in the Mad Max saga, Furiosa, which takes place before the events of Fury Road, costing in the region of $170 million and shot in Australia with the legendary director George Miller returning to his beloved franchise. The film has received for the most part positive reviews, though many highlight it's not quite as good as Fury Road. But it's one of the best prequels ever produced. Despite the strong IP of Mad Max, the film so far has underperformed for its opening weekend, which may be down to the fact that Mad Max isn't part of the story, with its sole focus on Furiosa as the film explores her backstory, which may not be of much interest for the general public, who perhaps wanted to see Tom Hardy return as Max. Fury Road back in 2015 was an unexpected box office smash, taking critics and Warner Brothers by surprise. So for Furiosa, it's been given a huge budget for George Miller to play with Warner's expecting big returns. But with that 9-year gap between the productions, it may appear that interest in the franchise has waned, but going in the direction of excluding Max to focus on Furiosa may have been a risky move. According to Miller, Furiosa probably takes place after Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but the Mad Max franchise has no strict timeline, and often continuity is thrown out the window. We find young Furiosa being snatched from the green place of many mothers, and falls in the hands of a great biker horde led by the warlord Dr. Dementus, played by Chris Hemsworth. They want to find Furiosa's homeland of abundance, but struggle to find it, as Furiosa refuses to give them information. As they travel around the wasteland, they come across a war boy, who leads them to the Citadel, that is presided over by Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants fight for dominance, Furiosa keeps her head down over the next few years, planning her escape to find her home. I hadn't been keeping up with Furiosa, and before seeing the film I'd seen like one trailer. It looked okay for the most part, appearing very heavy on the CGI. But with George Miller directing and having enjoyed the Mad Max films for years, I knew we were in safe hands, and I don't think Miller has ever made a bad film. There may be ones I'm not keen on like Happy Feet, but objectively they are strong productions and well received by the critics. Furiosa and its early reviews from say Empire magazine, it got 5 out of 5. I thought, well damn, this must be absolutely amazing then. Though you can't put all your trust in early reviews, and especially Empire, but going from the strength of Fury Road, I'm going to be in for a good time, right? When it was announced a number of years back that it was going to be a prequel focusing on Furiosa, and it wouldn't feature Mad Max, I was honestly not that excited. I felt we learned everything about her character in Fury Road, but hey, they might bring something really interesting to the table that will change my mind. Well, after watching Furiosa, I was a bit unsure with the film. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't love it either. But also my fears were kind of answered. The story didn't really surprise me. Of course we now have a fully fleshed out character, but we don't learn anything new to justify a whole feature film. There was that feeling of adrenaline after watching Fury Road, but this time I wasn't walking out with a big smile on my face. I was just in the attitude of thinking, yeah, that was good, but nothing really blew me away. I thought about moments in the movie that really impressed me, but after the dizzying heights of Fury Road, Furiosa felt tamer and didn't leave me with a strong impression. Now, I don't expect each Mad Max movie to be constant car chases and non-stop action, because it can just become a bit boring and very samey. Mad Max 1 and 2 are different films. Thunderdome goes on a completely different direction but cobbles on a big car chase for the finale to appease the fans, and Fury Road basically gives us Mad Max 2 on steroids. So for Furiosa, George Miller has dialed it back to focus more on the characters and especially the world building, which is certainly the highlight for me, after playing the Mad Max game from 2015, which was a fantastic experience, and I've gone back to the game a number of times to complete it again, so having Furiosa feature Gastown and Bullet Farm was really cool. Visually, it's a stunning movie, wonderfully photographed, but it does have some obvious green screen shots, which in Fury Road, it was pretty subtle in hiding its CGI effects in combination with the live action material. Furiosa doesn't seem as polished, CG doubles in the action scenes, and the visible apparent mix of green screen photography doesn't quite blend as well. Tom Holkenborg's score for Furiosa is very much a cut and paste job of Fury Road to my ears, though most of the music is drowned out by the sound effects of the cars and explosions, so it was difficult to hear if new compositions had been produced. One piece that stood out is the tender moment between Furiosa and Praetorian Jack, played by Tom Burke, who is a bit like Mad Max, so for those who are disappointed that Max doesn't return, you have a new character who's a bit like him and dresses in a similar fashion as well. But overall, a score that was somewhat forgettable. The performances throughout are very good. Anya Taylor-Joy does a superb job with the role, barely speaking throughout the first 2/3 of the movie. She does a lot with her eyes and physicality to speak to the audience without using dialogue. Miller says he directs these movies like silent films, but with sound, and you can tell exactly what's going on without people having to speak. This is the strength of a good director who can tell a story visually. It's a bit like Conan the Barbarian. The film doesn't really need dialogue, it does everything on a visual level, and you can follow the story easily. Chris Hemsworth is having a blast playing Dr. Dementus, who portrays his character as a Roman leader who has this chariot pulled by motorbikes. Some of the best lines of dialogue are delivered by Hemsworth, who puts on this nasally accent that he plays up to generate some good laughs in the film. With Fury Road basically being non-stop action, this one gives a lot more breathing space between the big explosive moments, which I don't have a problem with, and I think it's very good. But as you are dealing with a prequel, when any returning characters are put into jeopardy, you know they'll be fine because they're in the follow-up. This is the inherent problem with prequels, and it's very much apparent in Furiosa, as this story has been told out of order, so if you watched Furiosa first then Fury Road, then it's actually a great piece of storytelling, but because you know the future events of Furiosa, it doesn't quite have the same impact. For newcomers it's great if you haven't seen Fury Road, but I think for the majority who are fans of the series, it may be a slightly underwhelming experience, which is how I feel about it. In summary, it's not a bad film or inherently a boring one, it was just an entertaining film. But this story honestly didn't need to be made. What we do learn about Furiosa isn't really this huge revelation. It's fairly straightforward. I appreciate we see more of this world of the future, and the action again is extremely well executed, but after 9 years of waiting for a new Mad Max film, I think it should have had a story after the events of Fury Road, focused around Max as he encounters new characters in the wasteland to expand upon his tales as the Road Warrior.
As the world falls around us, how must we brave its cruelties?
I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell to be notified of my latest reviews. Big thanks to my patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. If you want to get involved and gain access to exclusive videos and take part in Q&As, follow the link below.